turn the page, breaking through your...
Hey everybody, the Freelancer back again, continuing with Sonic Week. And, of course, I can't talk about classic Sonic games without talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This is a game that actually sold better than its predecessor, and is, if I remember correctly, it is the best-selling game on the Sega Genesis. And once you'll see it in the footage, you know, for good reason. It really deserves to be. So, enjoy the footage, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, hailed by many as the best game in the Sonic franchise, and that includes even by myself. And with good reason. I mean, this is the sequel that got everything right. And that's a rare thing to see. A lot of games tend to, you know, their follow-ups tend to be, you know, decent or average at best. At worst, they hit the sophomore slump. A lot of people consider that to be the case with something like Super Mario Bros. 2, which of course actually technically wasn't even Super Mario Bros. 2. Or a lot of people that I know feel the same way about the second Legend of Zelda game, Link's Adventure. That, you know, it was okay, or was good, but wasn't near what the original was. And this game actually managed to surpass the original in every way, shape, and form. And there have been so many reviews on this game that there's really not a whole lot that I could say that would really add to the discussion, other than to say just look at it. I mean, look at the special stages alone here. I love the way that these things look. And while, you know, one could argue looking at them versus, you know, the pseudo 3D of Sonic CD, or the 3D stages, special stages in Knuckles Chaotix, they still look great to this day, and they're still a ton of fun to play. Not enough rings. That hardly ever happens. Goes to show you I'm actually paying more attention to talking to you guys than I am playing this game. Because I used to be great at this one. Though, actually, I've never been as good at this one as I am at the original. The original is still the one I'm the best at, even though I love this one even more than the first. You've got all these little secret areas where you can find little items to pick up, like lives and things like that. And the game's just so beautiful, and is still to this day, well, I guess you can't really say that since it's long over, but from what I understand, this is the best-selling game on the Sega Genesis. And as I stated, rightfully so. It just got everything perfect. The stages were longer, you had even more of those racing lines where you could move along fast, but the platforming was still spot on. The controls are super responsive, and I always did that. Even when I was a kid, I always did that. I always landed on that stupid monkey. And of course, this game, you gotta chalk a lot of it up to nostalgia like that. I mean, I remember all the playthroughs that I spent on this game, time and time again, always trying to get the best ending and get all of the Chaos Emeralds and everything, and I love the loop-de-loops. God, I love the loop-de-loops. And the music, of the two, it's really hard for me to decide between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 which one has the better music. I'm just not sure sometimes. I mean, they both sound great. There's so many memorable and catchy tracks. Though, of course, not nearly the, you know, memorability and infamy that something like, say, the Mario series or even the Legend of Zelda series has. And I'm speaking of that from almost a non-gamer perspective. You know, a lot of people, you know, can just hear the Mario theme, and they just know that that's Mario. other people, they may not necessarily know a lot of the Sonic the Hedgehog tunes. Doing much better this time around, obviously. I still love these. I actually remember as a kid, you know, little anecdote here for you guys. When you would do the up and down weave and bob, I would actually find myself trying to sort of look down and see if I could spot the rings as they were coming towards me. It's goofy, I know, and in reality probably didn't see anything, but I kept trying to do so anyway. I was just that much into this game. And of course, you can't talk this game without talking about Tails. And I love the addition of Tails to the Sonic franchise. Tails felt... Ooh. Not good. Tails felt like a sidekick that you actually wanted to have. He wasn't, you know, I mean, when you think about, say, and I know I keep comparing them, but it's almost impossible not to do so. You think about the Mario franchise, you think about Luigi. Luigi just kind of seemed to be that peon that was tagging along with Mario to go and save the princess, just because he didn't seem to have anything better to do with his time. Tails actually felt legitimate. He felt like he belonged there. He felt like he was adding to things. Like there, he just opened the pod for me. I didn't even have to do it. You know? And of course later characterizations of him, you know, as the timeline would go on and he's actually this, you know, super genius kid and stuff like that. And the Chemical Plant Zone. Man, I love the song for this zone. I love the background, I love the look of it. Though this is not my favorite zone, it's certainly ranks, but there isn't a single zone in this one that I don't like. Unlike the original, which most people share this sentiment, the Labyrinth Zone, where it was nothing but water, man, I hated that stage. But this game, all the stages are just so good. They go by so quickly, though. That's the part that kind of bugs me sometimes. And it was really this game that whole stipulation about all Sonic games have to be super incredibly amazingly fast really kind of started with this one. If you remember, a lot of the gameplay in the first game tended to slow down quite often. This one, especially in stages like this, you're just constantly moving and moving and moving and going and going and going as quickly and as, you know, effectively as you possibly can. And that spin dash maneuver that was added really helped. And the spin dash is one of those moves. I mean, I just made it to that stage in less than a minute and 30 seconds, and there are people that can get through it even faster than that. I was kind of taking my time. But that spin dash maneuver, it almost makes you wonder what did you do before it existed. It was just such a perfect addition. It's so simple, you know, and it's one of those moves that is completely and utterly synonymous with the character. It's almost hard to think that it didn't exist at one point. I remember I almost used to feel motion sick when you do that, because you would zip along so quickly. And there are even times during this stage where Sonic would get to be moving so fast he'd actually go beyond the camera, and you'd be missing him for a few minutes. See there, Tails just saved me from being messed up by those spiders. I mean, you can't count on Luigi to do that. Though I guess later on, much later on, he did save Mario from a bunch of ghosts, so he's not completely useless. There it is. Phew. That purple water. I always hated that stuff. Even though I knew nothing would happen, I was always worried. Again, when I was little, remembering the other water zones, I was always waiting for Sonic to drown or something. like this. No, that was always something, and this is going to sound strange, that was always something I kind of identified with Sonic on, is that, you know, they ultimately wrote it that Sonic has a fear of water. Well, I can't swim, and I'm not too particularly fond of water either, so I always kind of identified with that. I hope I don't drown here, because that would be kind of embarrassing. But as you can see, he keeps the bubbles going. And he can hold his breath for longer than he used to, but you still have that fear of drowning, and it absolutely stinks. But, again, one of those memorable things about Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, there are a lot of ways you can go about getting this game. Of course, you can have the cartridge and the Genesis to play it on. Excuse me. And this is actually the cartridge that I got when I was a kid, and I've had it for years. And it still works perfectly, never had an issue out of it. Or probably an even easier way is to download it onto any one of your given systems. It's been released on numerous compilations. I found the best way was to get the Sonic Mega Collection. This is the Mega Collection Plus on the PS2. It's also available on the Xbox. Or you can get the original Sonic Mega Collection, which was on the GameCube. There are only differences between those two different versions, between these versions, are the Game Gear games and some of the extra Genesis games that were thrown on there. It's also available on the Sega Genesis Collection on the PlayStation 2, as well as the Sonic's Ultimate Collection on the PS3 and Xbox 360. So you've got a million different ways to go about getting this game. There's no excuse not to play it except for not being a fan of the Sonic games. But believe me, it's totally worth playing. I adore Sonic 2. I think it's a great game. And I'm not alone in that. Most people consider it to be the best one in the series. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and stay tuned as Sonic Week continues. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.